Hi, good evening, everybody. I wanted to continue. A few days ago, I made a video about breakaway minions. You'll have to excuse me. I'm still suffering from this cold. I probably should have taken the day off work, but I'm a workaholic. I'm addicted to workahol. And I used to be very lazy. I think a lot of it has to do with my father always telling me how lazy I am. So I pushed myself a little too much today, perhaps, but there was a lot of things that had to get done today. And our friend David was talking about issues in his community with the breakaway minyanim and things like that. I think certain things you have to realize is where are the breakaways coming from? Because an issue of making a Friday night minyan in someone's home because they don't want to walk to shul in the dark. These issues you have to discuss with the Mardasra, with the Rav, to make it clear exactly how you want to approach this. And I'm assuming it's not people from various shuls coming together necessarily to have a Friday night minyan, but it's people from one particular shul who are making this Friday night minyan, and they have to clear it with the Rav before they do something like that. They have to have permission. It's not hefker. It's not hefker. And if it's from a few shuls, the Rabbanim should get together and discuss these issues. If it's affecting whether or not there's a minyan in shul, I mean, there are answers to this. I know in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, for example, so there are two Orthodox shuls. There's the main shul, Kesher Israel, or Kesser Israel, what's the name now? The big Rav there, Chief Rabbi of America. Can't remember his name right now. He was my mind is broken right now. I'm quite embarrassed that I can't remember his name. Anyway, or Blazer Silver. Blazer Silver was Rav there in Harrisburg, and he called it Kesser Israel instead of Kesher Israel because he didn't want it to be called like a Kesher Shoyim. Anyway, there's that Kehillah has a shul. It's not the same building where Blazer Silver was, but where Reb David Silver was. He was the Rav there already when he was a Bacher. When Reb Blazer Silver moved to Cincinnati, and Reb David was they had a few other Rabbanim, and then Reb David was the Rav for a long time in Harrisburg, and it was that time when they built the current Medrash. But anyway, I when I have reason to go to Harrisburg as an employee of the Commonwealth, I will often daven there by Kesher Israel, by Rabbi Elisha Friedman, who's the Rav there, very choshev, good man, very educated person, and a fine, nice person, a big onav, and a Talmid Chacham. Very impressive individual. And I wish him a lot of hatzlacha, Rebbe Elisha. You have to excuse me again with this cold. It's like it's difficult to manage. But I don't know if this was already by the previous Rav, Rabbi Males, or it's a recent thing. I don't know what the history of it is. But what they do there at Kesher Israel is Friday night, they don't daven in the shul. They daven in the JCC. And I don't know how long it's been going on, but it's not that there's 1 minyan in the shul and 1 minyan in the JCC. They don't have a minyan in the shul Friday night. Minyan's only in the JCC. Now there's also Chabad, something else. But that's how it is there. In Harrisburg. By the way, I'm trying to find shidduchim for two very choshev Hasidic Bachrim from Harrisburg in their early 20s. So if anybody knows someone, I'm talking really Hasidic though, Talmidei Chachamim, two Bachrim, they're learned Shas, Pormol. We're talking about they're going to be big people. They're going to be something like Rosh Yeshiva or something, I don't know. They're out of this world Bachrim in Harrisburg. So if anybody has idea for a shidduch for these Bachrim, two brothers, and let me know. You can contact me privately. They're more along the Satmar ideology and Levush. But back to what we're talking about with this, but like Rebbesh, I mean, they're not Rebbesh Einiklach, but I'm saying their lifestyle, they're very Chanyakisha Bachrim, but if they don't speak Yiddish, I don't think, but they are Talmidei Chachamim, incredible Talmidei Chachamim. And I'm not saying that's Stam. Anyway, you'll have to excuse me, I'm not feeling very well. This issue of making the separate minyanim, but like this, it's not a separate minyan. This is the minyan of the Kehila, and they daven, in the shul, they daven in the JCC. They don't daven in the shul, I guess, because it's more convenient or whatever. In Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, there's a shul, modern Orthodox shul, and then there's also Chabad also, but that's a different neighborhood. But in that neighborhood where there's the Chabad, there are people who are members of the modern Orthodox shul, and they make minyan Friday night, and it's an official minyan that's shaykh to the Kehillah in town. I mean, it's actually a different city. I think it was Kingston, Pennsylvania, is where the Chabad is, and where this other minyan is Friday night. But it's bedavka with the rishus and the haskama of the Rav of the Mardasra to have this Kehillah, Kingston Kehillah. It's different. Kingston Chabad Kehillah, they're Chabad Hasidim. I'm not even talking about like a Chabad house. These are Lubavitcher Hasidim who moved from Crown Heights to Kingston. It's a nash, different. But again, it's not in town, so it's not really affecting, but still, it's still more or less in walking distance, and there are people who are members of the main town shul, and they have a minyan Friday night, and it's advertised on the website of the Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania shul. Reason I'm saying that is, again, it's a different thing. It's with the permission of the Kehillah. It's not hefker. This, what you're describing, that there are minyanim that are going on independently. I'm going to say something that's not politically correct. One of the biggest problems that Orthodox Judaism has is people who are Ober Chachamim. And part of the issue is they're educated. I mean, one of my rebbeim, who I've known for a number of years, he wasn't a teacher of mine, but he is now, and mostly on Facebook. I met him in person a few times, and I listened to him, and his opinion matters a lot to me. But this Rav was not briefly, for 10 years, a rabbi in an egalitarian synagogue. Is a Rav, a Talmud Chacham, a Chassidish Yid, Breslover Chassid, puts on Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam and Shemusha Rabbah. He's a lantern mensch. It's mostly self-taught, though. Never really learned in yeshiva, but a very educated person, a Talmud Chacham. I consider a Tzaddik Nister one of the Bahalton or Gedolei Adar, really incredible person. And people don't know about it. People who know about him know about him. A lot of people don't know about him. But anyway, he was Rav, an Orthodox Rav all his life. And he moved to Israel. He was a Rav for the Rabbanut. He was a Rav of a town. And he realized what a mistake it was after 17 years in Israel, and he tried to come back to America and had a very hard time finding a shtaler, parnasa, anything, and he was pretty much homeless with a bunch of kids and payas, wife and kids, and then he got this shtaler. He didn't have any other choice. It was his parnasa. It wasn't much of a parnasa, but to be a conservative rabbi, not an official conservative kehillah, but an independent, non-affiliated congregation that was egalitarian, pretty much conservative. And he made a lot of people from there. And he knew he was doing kiruv, and it was parnasa. And he asked Dayanim, he asked Rabbanim, who gave him a heter like this, and it was always gevei. And he told me, he said, the nafka mina between being a rabbi in Orthodox shul and a conservative shul is the Orthodox balabatim think they know everything, where the conservative balabatim know they don't know anything. And so, like, if a conservative balabas knows a little something, they're going to ask in a respectful way. Whereas the Orthodox, half the time, the Rav is just a puppet. It's not supposed to be that way. And when people see a Rav who's not like that, and who's a real Mardasra, sometimes they get intimidated. But for the most part, the Orthodox shuls, it doesn't matter if it's a black hat shul, a modern Orthodox shul, or what, they're looking more for a puppet than they're looking really for a Rav. And certain people, they feel proud that they daven in a shul where the Rav dresses a certain way. I'm being honest, you know. Rav Barrel Wine Shlita, you know, he likes to wear sweaters and you know, baseball jackets like from the 50s, you know. That's how he likes to dress. But he wears a suit and a black hat also. But someone said to him when he was a Rav in Muncie, you know, Rabbi Wine, you should wear a kapata. You're a Rav in Muncie, you have to wear a kapata. At least on Shabbos, you have to wear a kapata. He said, you know, in Muncie, even the plumbers have 2 buttons in the back of their overalls, you know. So he said, why you want me to wear a kapata? So you should feel proud of me? You wear the kapata, I can feel proud of you. You know, the same thing even in Israel, or, you know, I had a Maggid Shir from England, the Yeke, and he also, he wore a kapata because he was a Dayan, and he said, you know, they make me wear this thing, I don't, it's not me, you know, and you know, because people, they want to feel proud that they're diving in a shul where the Rav dresses a certain way, whether he wears a frock and a Hamburg, you know, kapata, whether he wears his streimel, whether he wears struckers, whether he wears a colorful bekasha. Maybe during the week he wears a colorful bekasha and has samet on the bekasha even during the week. You know, people feel proud with that. People feel proud that sometimes they're in a more ehrlich shul where there's no talking shul, and there's also a gaivazach. Being realistic here, you know, there's one shul that's known you're not supposed to talk in that shul. And how proud the people feel when they shush somebody who's talking in shul. You know, you're interrupting the reverence of our holy shul. And it's good, but there's still a klipa in there. I'm being honest. And it's a klipa that I'm saying this also. But it's true. Maybe it's Lashon Hara. I'm not saying it to be mevatel it. I'm just saying it to be realistic. I know why I'm saying it. This is why I'm saying it. Going back to what we started with. The problem is that you have choshev rabbanim. You have fine rabbanim who are mardasers and shuls. And they're Talmidei Chachamim, and they're Erlichid, and the Titov Asach for Yiddishkeit, and Vorlid, Erlichid, Shiny, and the Balabatim don't care, and they don't really have coveted Torah. And the Balabatim think that they're Amanda Omar. Or they go to the shul because they know this is a shul where they can talk. And the Rav doesn't care. And so the Rav, you know, I know one shul like that, and the Rav was nifter a year or 2 ago, around the same time, a little earlier than my father was nifter, with my father, and he was even younger than my father, I think. Around the same age as my father, a little younger, I think. Maybe a little older, I don't know. I think he was actually young. I don't think he was even 60, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. But was nifter at a young age. In the shul where I'm talking about Hasidic Rebbe. Oh, sorry, he smoked a lot. He didn't take care of his health. But people knew that that's a shul where you could. Nobody really davened there, you know. And I know his Rebbe's a big tzaddikus. I know the mishpacha. And you know, it's something. You know, I remember in Queens, you know, there was one shul, and the Rosh Kol, who's the Erlich of Yid, and his son was sick for a long time, was nifter very young. And I'm not talking about Chassidish Oilam, but you know, Queens Black Hat Oilam with a Chassidish Rebbe. And I remember, you know, the Rebbe will only speak, we only speak twice a year, really. I mean, he would say Shalosh Shudas Torah every week. And he would give a Tish Friday night in the winter. I used to go to Tish a lot, but the Shabbos morning, he only gave a drasha twice a year. Shabbos Agavol and Shabbos Shuvah, right? And I remember after the Rosh Kol's son was nifter, and it was a big levaya, the whole Queens came to the levaya. And I remember, you know, after the levaya wasn't over yet, there was another levaya was supposed to start, and you know, cousins, the family, the old lady who died, and they were all joking and they relaxed. And they're like, "Oh, hey, some big rabbi died, and so you know, we can't get our space in the funeral home because some big rabbi died." And they had, but then one of them had a little bit more derech eretz and asked, you know, "Who was this rabbi who died?" And I said, "It wasn't a rabbi; he was a lawyer." You know, but that's what it means, a kehillah. That was means a community. The whole Queens came out for this Levi. He was a fine person. And I remember the Rebbe there, the Rav, after this happened, whatever, Shabbos Shuvah, he said, "I noticed now we don't talk in the shul anymore." That's all he had to say. He didn't have to say more. He's a big tzaddik, this Rebbe. And the Rosh Kol is a very ehrlich Rosh Kol, very, very fine, holy person. President of the shul was a Rosh Kol. You know, why am I saying all this? What's this all about? Meaning, the fact that they're balabatim who think that they're smart enough to say, "Oh, we need a partnership minion. We need this minion. We need that minion." It depends. Where are you coming from? That's the question. Meaning, if you're being makar of people who are bad, some reform conservative, and bringing them to orthodoxy, and showing them semeglich to sein orthodoxischer auch, azoi. It's you could be orthodox like the, you know, if you're Rabbi Nachman with the prince who thinks he's a turkey. You know the story. The prince who thinks he's a turkey and he's under the table and he's naked, and this is a story Rabbi Nachman tells, and they call a chacham. He tells the prince, he said, a turkey could wear pants, and a turkey could wear a shirt, and a turkey can sit on a chair, and a turkey can eat with a knife and fork. You can still stay a turkey, but you can act like a prince. You hear what I'm saying? Are we turkeys becoming princes, or are we princes becoming turkeys? If we're talking about a reformed Jew, and we tell him, you know, a reformed Jew can also put on tefillin, and a reformed Jew can also keep taharas mishpacha, and a reformed Jew can also make Kiddush Friday night. And all right. You don't want to be machmir about the mechitza, and you don't want to be machmir about the microphone or electricity at all, but you're going to not do Lamites Malachos. So Ochepis. It's not nothing. It's not so much either, but it's not nothing. And you can still be a Reformed Jew and put on tefillin. Or are we talking about people who should know better, and now they think they're smarter than their bubbies, who are holy ladies who said Tehillim, and they said, no, well, I'm better than my bubby because I finished Shas. And we're talking about a girl who finished Shas. She's 17 years old. A woman who's finishing Shas, her bubby didn't learn Shas. Her bubby didn't, I understand. If Soloveitchik had a shita that people, the girls are learning so much secular study. In the old days, the girls didn't learn secular studies either. So now that they're learning secular studies, they have to learn more religious studies. So we have to give them an equal amount of religious studies to counteract and counterbalance the secular studies. Okay. I hear what you're saying. And that's fine. Because you're listening to your Rebbe. You're doing what he said, but Rav Soloveitchik didn't say you could have the partnership minyanim. Rabbi Soloveitchik didn't say that a katan could say, that an isha could say l'chunarano just because a katan could say l'chunarano. By us, we don't have a katan saying l'chunarano either. But all the modern orthodoxuals, it's a geschmack that you have a katan go up to say l'chunarano, and that you have a katan go up to say Adam Zmiris, right? It's a big geschmack. Because you see what you're paying for. Why you're paying for day school tuition is so my 10-year-old boy can go up and say Adam Zmiris. Well, if my 10-year-old boy can say Adam Zmiris, why can't my 10-year-old girl say Adam Zmiris, right? And it's good. It's chinuch. It's but the thing is, there's a reason why you're having the 11, 12-year-old boy say l'chunaran and olachadoni. Because it's chinuch. And so there's a tachlis in that. What's the tachlis in the girl going up and the woman going up and singing l'chunaran? All right, you want to say there's a tshuva from Chacham Avadia that Kol Be'isha Erva doesn't refer to Shirei Kodesh, and v'chulu v'chulu, beautiful, and it's all true. The question is when, where, how. You're talking about people who are already third generation conservative and somehow they're still Jewish. All right. 100%. You want to be makar of them. You want to show them Mekendach Zayin Yiddish, Azoi. And maybe you should think twice before you go play golf on Shabbos. You're the cantor in the shul and you're going playing golf on Shabbos. You're Baal Tokeya in the shul and you're going chveis. All these things are very complicated. Very, very complicated things to talk about. But what I'm saying here is that what it sounds like you're describing are people who should know better, people who are educated, people who went to day school, and there's no need for the idea of the partnership minyan. And I think what they say ad kadei kach, there's certain places where they say that you have to have 10 women and 10 men. They won't start davening until there's 10 women also. And that's just silly. And it's ridiculous, and it's counterproductive. But it's more than that. The Mishnah in Parah talks about the Sadducees, it's sad you see, who insisted on being machmir that you had to have Harav Shemesh for the Kohen to serve as a parah. It says, V'ashav ish tahor. Pasuk says that a pure man has to gather the ashes of the red heifer. So the question is, what level of purity is necessary? The sages say a tful yom is good enough, because the halacha is there's different levels of purity. If you go in the mikveh, when you go to mikveh, you're kind of in a limbo state until nightfall, right? If you ever learned the first Mishnah in Brachas, I guess maybe a lot of people might have tried to start the Daf Yomi with the first page, something Memasai Karen Shema Ba'arvis, Shasha Kehanim Knasam Lechels Trumasim. So what's the pshat? The Kehanim are eating truma by Tzeisa Kechavim because they're not tahor until Tzeisa Kechavim, Harav Shemesh. Just going to the mikveh, you're tful yom, you're in a limbo until you go to the mikveh. But the Chazal say that the Masorah is like this, that a tful yom is good enough to gather together the ashes of the red heifer and to sprinkle and so forth. When it says ish tahor, he just has to go to mikveh. And the tzedukim, the Sadducees, the tzedukim, different ways to say it. They said no. They said you have to have Harav Shemesh. They were machmir. Ish tahor means tzeisa kechavim. So the Chazal, they said like this, that it says it was ish tahor, they would go out of their way to be mekel, to be lenient, to say they would take a sheretz and touch the kohen, surface parah, the kohen who's burning the ashes and collecting the ashes, the priest. They would have some kind of a dead lizard, something on a stick, and touch him or touch his clothes or something. And in order to make him tameh, then he should go to the mikveh again. So he should be a tful yom. And why they do that? They wanted. The Rambam says very beautifully, is to teach that how ridiculous it is what the Sadducees taught, and that they made something up. Hamorim Hazedim Hamorim Shaloi Kalacha Shaloi Min Kabbalah Ha'oila Rucham. I don't remember exactly the lashon, something along those lines. And that's the Maisa. So this is Zelbazachto. You know, I would say that it's like almost the hefech, that there's no room to be machmir like those who are saying that you need 10 men and 10 women. I'm not talking about this partnership minyanim where I don't know about that. But this, to go and to have a chumrah that's loy kahalacha, that's, you know, it's one thing to be mekel and it's for kiruv and all kinds of cheshbonis why you want to do this. I hear cher. I don't agree, but I hear what you're saying. But to go and say it's not enough to have 10 men, you have to have 10 women also, there's no makar for that. There's no reason to do that other than just to be ridiculous. I don't know if that's what we're talking about here, but obviously it's a ridiculous thing, and it's something that like the Chazal would have gone and said, do the opposite, just to show that we're not doing like this because it's so ridiculous and there's no reason to do it. It's heretical. But again, you have to ask, why are you doing these things? Where are the people holding? Not everybody is holding, this or that, but this to go with people who are already holding on a certain madrega, and then they're going to go the opposite way, is a big problem. It's a big, big problem. But again, if these people want to get together and get a storefront and hire a rabbi from YCT and have their own kehillah like this, gesundheit hate. Go ahead, do it. Other. Then you're breaking off from the kehillah. You're not part of the kehillah anymore. And adarabba, bi'arta ramikar. When I was a Rav in Richmond, I think the biggest problem was that the more modern shul put up the mechitza a little higher, and they hired a from a Rav, and I said, no, you got to hire. And when the Rav decided it wasn't for him, I was telling him, you should hire a rabbi from YCT, and then all the Fruma people will come to my shul, like it used to be. It's just they were too lazy to walk to our shul, and they put the mechitza higher so they could daven there, even though it was clear glass. But I'm saying no. Although then they would daven the yeshiva, the Fruma people. But I'm saying no, it's good. Hire a rabbi from YCT. Show that you're modern. Show that there's not a glimmer of anything Haredi, that no black hat belongs in this shul. So, whatever it is. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm just yammering on. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. We'll see you later.